Nothing is worse than hiring a new employee and it takes forever to onboard them. You spend all this time in the interview process, they're ready to work, but you don't have the right materials to communicate how they should do their job properly. Today, we're diving deep into a tool that's absolutely essential for any organization, large or small. SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedure. If you've ever been overwhelmed by the thought of creating SOPs, or if you think they're just a business formality, then stick around. I'm Ivan from Visme, and by the end of this video, you'll see just how simple, effective, and necessary they can be for streamlining your operations and boosting productivity. Let's get started. So what exactly is a standard operating procedure? Well, put it simply, an SOP is a set of detailed step-by-step instructions that outlines how to carry out a specific task or process for your business. It's kind of like a playbook that ensures consistency, efficiency, and clarity across your entire organization. Think about it this way. Imagine running a restaurant where every chef prepares the same dish slightly differently. One adds a little too much salt, another one undercooks the pasta. What's the result? Inconsistent quality, customer complaints, and at the root of these issues, confusion among your staff. But if you have an SOP that clearly explains every step in making that dish, from preparation to presentation, you'll guarantee that everything your team does is perfect and consistent every time. Yes, there's human error, but still, at least we have a process. Whether it's a complex manufacturing process or just your daily routine tasks, SOPs are your go-to solution for reducing errors and ensuring everyone is on the same page. But what are the key elements that every effective SOP should include? Whether you're creating one from scratch or improving an existing document, these are the must-haves that will keep your SOP functional and easy to follow. Start by stating your purpose. Start by clearly stating why this SOP exists. What's the goal? What problem does it solve? Then the actual procedure. This is the heart of the SOP, a step-by-step guide that anyone can follow to complete the task accurately. Even the finest details are important to include here. Now you have the scope. Define the boundaries. What's covered in the SOP? What isn't covered in the SOP? Making sure you state that is especially important when it comes to assigning responsibility for completing the task. That leads us into employee responsibilities. Clearly assign the roles of who's responsible for each part of the process. And then you have consequences. And when I say consequences, I don't mean direct consequences to the employee, well, maybe, but I mean how discrepancies can affect the business, other team members, the product, and ultimately your consumer. Outline what happens if the SOP isn't followed. This encourages compliance and helps people understand the importance of following the procedures within that document. Each of these elements plays a crucial role in ensuring that your SOP is comprehensive, easy to follow, and effective. It's about more than just writing the steps. It's about providing context and clarity so that everyone understands why the SOP exists and how to implement it. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of creating an SOP. Don't worry, it's not as overwhelming as you think it is. In fact, you can break down the process down into 5 simple steps. Here are the 5 steps to create an effective SOP. Identify the process. Start by selecting a task or process that's significant and requires documentation. This could be anything from onboarding new employees to handling customer complaints, or even how a meeting should be run just to make sure that it's productive. Next is to gather input. Consult the experts, the people who actually perform the task. They'll have the best insight on how it's done and where potential issues are going to arise. They'll also be heavily invested in helping you make the SOP document, well, because it's their own process. It's their baby that they know like the back of their hand. And now you'll need to write the purpose and the scope. Articulate the goals of the SOP and define what's included and what's not. This will prevent any ambiguity. Make sure to detail the procedures. Write out the steps clearly and concisely. Be sure to use simple language and, where appropriate, include visuals or flowcharts to enhance understanding. Screenshots help too. Not every step has to be a novel. The most effective SOPs I've ever used were simple checklists of bullet points with no more than like 1 or 2 sentences per bullet. Finally, you just have to approve everything. Before finalizing your SOP, get feedback from key stakeholders and have it approved by management or the relevant decision makers that are associated with the process. This is basically like a second round of gathering input. This helps share the responsibility of the process across everyone within the department. Once you follow these steps, you'll have a very solid SOP that can be used as a reference point for training, troubleshooting, and improving overall efficiency. But you're probably thinking, oh, I know what's needed for this job. Why should I make this document? Why should I create an SOP? Well, let me give you a few compelling reasons. First is consistency. SOPs ensure that tasks are performed the same way every time, which leads to higher quality outcomes. Whether you have 2 employees or 200 employees, SOPs standardize the process, hence the name, Standard Operating Procedure. So there's no guessing involved. Second is training. When you're onboarding new employees, SOPs act as a training manual that quickly gets them up and running. They reduce the learning curve and help avoid costly mistakes. Third is efficiency. SOPs streamline workflows and reduce the amount of trial and error involved in completing tasks for new hires. It's like having a GPS for your process. It guides people to the right destination without wasting any time. And finally, quality control. SOPs help you identify inefficiencies or mistakes early on so you can correct them before they turn into bigger problems, especially if this is a process that hasn't been updated in a while. Maybe after months or even years of following the same processes, you will find a better way to complete them. Creating SOPs isn't without its challenges. Common issues include unclear instructions, outdated documents, or resistance from employees. Even though creating SOPs isn't rocket science, there are some common mistakes that you'll want to avoid. Here are a few pitfalls that you're going to want to watch out for. Starting with only using video. While videos are amazing tools, they shouldn't be your sole method of documenting a process. People learn in different ways, so combining written instructions with visuals or a Loom video is the best approach. Another mistake is having the wrong person write it. Avoid having SOPs written by people who don't actually perform the tasks. Always involve those who are directly responsible for the process. SOPs aren't worth updating. Well, actually they are. SOPs are living documents and should be updated regularly. So make sure you use collaborative tools like Visme that makes this easy and accessible. There's no review process. Sometimes the person or persons writing the SOP will do something subconsciously and forget to include it in the information. I'm sure you see this all the time. It's actually very easy to do this and think, oh yeah, that's a given. Get out of that habit. Write everything down and have people not included in the process actually try following the SOP to make sure you didn't miss any key details. There's no way of skimming the SOP. Structure your SOP with headers, bullet points, and clear sections so that readers can quickly find what they need. Writing SOPs before hiring. It's tempting to draft SOPs before you even bring people on board, but the best SOPs are created with input from the people who are actually using them. But you can also be proactive with your SOPs and make them simple. To overcome these challenges, here are a few tips. Use precise language. Vague instructions can lead to confusion and a whole lot of questions. Regularly review and update your SOPs to keep them relevant. Make sure your SOPs are easily accessible to all your employees, whether they're in the office or working remotely. Keep them backed up and a printed version. Once you've created your SOP, it's time to implement it. So here are some best practices for rolling them out. Communicate the release. Let everyone know about the new SOP and make sure it's available in a place where it's easy to find, like Drive or written in a folder. Encourage questions. Foster an open environment where people feel comfortable asking for clarification or offering feedback. Provide training. Hosting training sessions to walk people through the SOP and ensure everyone understands how to apply it, so some hands-on sessions. Monitor and follow up. Regularly check in with your team to see how the SOP is working and where improvements might be needed. Don't get bogged down by perfectionism. Just get started. By collaborating with your team and focusing on practical outcomes, you can create SOPs that drive success and growth for your organization. Now, if you're wondering where to start, you don't have to create your SOPs from scratch. There are plenty of platforms like Visme and others that offer customizable templates for creating professional SOPs. These templates can save you a ton of time and allow you to focus on the content rather than the design. Many of them come with built-in sections for all the essential components that we talked about earlier: purpose, scope, procedure, and more. Plus, they often include collaborative features so you can easily update your SOPs and get input from your team. Implementing SOPs isn't just a strategy for better processes, it's a pathway for greater efficiency, quality, and compliance in your organization. So try Visme to create an SOP tailored to you and your business needs. It's our all-in-one marketing and content creation platform we built specifically to help people like you create professional-grade content or documentation for any occasion. You can try it today with the link down below. I'm Ivan from Visme, helping you design better for your business.